If you're a Disneyland Paris fan, you probably know some attractions and expansions that never made it past the planning phase. Today, we will look back and explore some of these attractions.
Boy!
When Euro Disneyland opened, there was a fun map being sold that contained several attractions that never came to be. Some of these we've actually discussed in the channel, like Discovery Mountain and Indiana Jones Miniland. By the way, make sure to watch those videos. Another ride that was somewhat present in the map was the Little Mermaid attraction. The movie was a huge success in 1989 when it came out, and it almost became a real experience at Euro Disneyland. It was planned to be placed between Discoveryland and Fantasyland, and would welcome guests with a similar entrance to the one you can now find in Orlando. The original idea was brought by Tony Baxter, one of the most important Imagineers when it comes to Disneyland Paris. He wanted to tell the story of Ariel in a new way, with audio animatronics and beautifully hand-painted backgrounds, with many props. The concept was already so far in development that a completely digital on-ride video was produced to showcase the future attraction. And like most dark rides, this one would use a similar ride system as Peter Pan's Flight, where guests are in an elevated car secured by the top. After boarding the shell vehicle, guests would make their way into the first scene, which would consist of a dark room with several shipwrecks and lightning. After turning a corner, they found themselves face to face with Ariel and her friends, looking at Prince Eric's ship, with the prince himself inside it. After that, you would make your way to Under the Sea. It is unknown how Imagineers would pull this off, but I would say that this could be achieved with some fog and projections. After being submerged, guests would find themselves in the middle of the iconic scene with Sebastian singing the famous music. This would be followed by the Poor Unfortunate Soul section, where Ursula takes Ariel's voice. After this, the highlight of the ride would appear. A 4.5-meter tall Ursula frightens guests while trying to destroy the ships, and we find ourselves in the middle of this short battle, as she then turns into a giant skeleton, after Eric defeats her with the help of black light. After that thrilling part, the shells proceed into the next scene. The Kiss the Girl song plays with several animatronics singing at the same time. With the glorious finale, guests then return to the loading and unloading area, ready to go back into the park. This virtual on-ride video allows us to gather so many details from what could have been. As Imagineers say, no idea disappears in Imagineering. The concept was later brought to the United States, where a new version would be built in both California Adventure and the Magic Kingdom. Unfortunately, with a much smaller budget, which led to a less impressive ride. The area where the ride would have been built is still available, as nothing has changed. So one day, we might still get to see it in the Disneyland park. Moving on to the other cancelled Fantasyland attraction, we have the Beauty and the Beast show that was to be built right here. Unfortunately, we don't have as much information on this one as the Little Mermaid, but that doesn't mean we don't know anything about it. One thing that the Magic Kingdom has that Disneyland Paris doesn't is musical animatronic shows. This is one thing that, funny enough, I actually missed when I returned to Disneyland Paris after visiting Disney World this summer. This edition would have ended that, as it would tell the story of the hit film in a brand new way. The show would be divided in two, the pre-show and the main show. While we don't have any concept art for the pre-show, it is known that it would have included a stained glass retelling of the story of the prince and the castle, before Belle. Just like the previous attraction, an idea is never lost in Imagineering, and something very similar came to fruition just a few years ago at Tokyo Disneyland. Here you have a full-on trackless dark ride, which is considered by many to be one of the best Disney has ever made. The pre-show for that ride is basically the same as what would be found in this corner of Fantasyland. Well, after the pre-show, guests will move on into the main part of the attraction. The show would be made in a theater in the round style. very reminiscent of the enchanted Tiki Room. The action would be mainly in the center of the room, but also all around the guests. You would have three main animatronic characters, Lumiere, Cogsworth, and Mrs. Potts. Belle would appear as a live character and would interact with the audience at specific points, as well as an impressive animatronic version of the Beast. The show would finally conclude with an audience-assisted version of the final transformation of the Beast and a live appearance by the Prince to join Belle. While it's not as grand or impressive as the Little Mermaid attraction or other Fantasyland rides, I would personally love to see this come to fruition. The space that would have housed this attraction is still empty, waiting for some new development. This would be a nice way to incorporate an underutilized IP, while not costing too much to develop, so it could be done one day, who knows. At last, I will now talk about my favorite cancelled Disneyland Paris attraction, and that is Splash Mountain. Please, before you rush to the comments to tell me that Paris is too cold to have a Splash Mountain, listen to me, please. At some point, a shorter version of Splash Mountain was being planned for the park. Here are some leaked plans that show how that would have looked like. So, for those who think Splash couldn't survive in Paris, let me introduce Tokyo. Here some adaptations were made because of the cold winters, such as the lower water levels that make it hard to even get wet. During the summer, the last drop features some sprinklers that get you very wet. So it really is the best of both worlds. Now that you understand that it could actually happen, let's get into more detail. The ride would be located at the back of Frontierland, which I think makes complete sense, as that area of the park rarely has crowds, so it would disperse guests even more. Similarly to other Splash Mountains, this one would have the railroad pass inside the show building, so half of the track would be outside of the railroad tracks. This isn't anything new, as Pirates of the Caribbean and Small World also have this, to name a few. As I said, the ride itself would have been a little shorter than the American and Japanese versions, but other themes were discussed, like Pocahontas or even Davy Crockett. If it was built today, I would say that while it could receive the Princess and the Frog theme that's coming to Disney World and Disneyland, either of those themes would be better because of the location in Frontierland. The Frontierland station would have to be moved a little in order to have enough space, so something similar to the Magic Kingdom could happen, where these two are pretty much integrated on each other, and I personally think it looks really cool. When it was being planned, the opening was projected to be around 1999, but the project was ultimately cancelled and the budget allocated to other projects. Which one of these attractions would you like to see come to the park? Let me know down below so we can have a chat. Make sure to be a part of our community by entering our Discord, following us on Twitter, or subscribing to the channel. And if you're interested, check our fan shop. And now, as always, thank you for watching, and that's a wrap.